education is preparation for reparations.
I'd like to ask next Mclaughlin MP to give us 5 minutes of her perspective and to respond to any of the points made by the former speaker. Thank you very much, Anne.
So I'm Anne Mclaughlin, I'm the SNP MP, and hello Clive, it's really nice to see you, for Glasgow North East. I did mention reparations in my maiden speech in 2015, and I have been involved in a campaign in Scotland since 2013, I think, and I am a board member of Flag Up Scotland Jamaica, which kind of seeks to it's a form of, it's campaigns for people to have a better understanding of what that relationship was and how that relationship could be going forward, taking into account the need for reparations. But I can't say that I just suddenly decided one day that this was really important. I can't take the credit for that because I have to credit 3 people who really influenced me, and mostly, and the reason I'm telling you this is because of a point I want to make. Mostly, it was my partner, Graham Campbell, who's speaking in another session. So Graham's Jamaican, and he's always been involved in anti-racism and understanding the impact of what happened with enslaved Africans and the impact as it is still today. So the reason I'm saying that is because I think there are many, many more people out there who are passive allies. That's not great, but it's better than not being allies. It's simply that they sometimes need somebody to help them to understand just how important this is. So I understand it because my partner has been involved in all of this, and he is Jamaican and he has experienced this, and he very much understands the whole thing about the inherited trauma. So he and I put together a play called Emancipation Acts in 2014, along with other people who were very conscious of the fact that in Scotland we like to think it wasn't us. So there was a book written called It Wasn't Us, which is Glaswegian for It Wasn't Us, because it wasn't us, it was the English. They were in charge, and we didn't benefit from this. But that, of course, is not true. We very much benefited from it. And the point that Graham and I wanted to make, I was born in the west coast of Scotland in a town called Greenock, and I lived as a baby in Jamaica Street. And then I end up many years later that my fiancé, we've never got round to getting married. Probably not going to, but don't tell him that. Not going to get round to it. My fiancé is Jamaican. The point that we really wanted to make with this campaign and with this play that was put on is that people will look at him and I walking through Glasgow, and if they think about it at all, probably not consciously, subconsciously, they will think that my forefathers were responsible for the wealth of Glasgow. But his forefathers and mothers were every bit as responsible, possibly even more so, because who provided the wealth that allowed Glasgow to develop in that way? And we want a situation where children understand that, because I think that's one of the keys to tackling the racist attitudes towards people in Scotland and everywhere else, but I'm just talking about Scotland and Glasgow really, is if you don't look at somebody in the street and think that they are an incomer, that they are a stranger, that they are coming to take something from you. He is not coming to take something from them, because he is descended from his father's Jamaican, his mother's Canadian. So that was the point that we were trying to make. I find it really shocking that I was 45 years old. Are you coughing to tell me to? Okay. But something that really shocked me about myself, and I'm sorry, I should have educated myself sooner. I was in my 40s, my mid-40s, and I used to volunteer at the Afrikan Reparations Centre in Glasgow that Graham had set up. And some of you might know Professor Sir Geoff Palmer, who is also a whisky expert, a brewing expert. But Geoff had written a book called Citizens of Britishness, which I read on a Greek island, and I couldn't do the holiday until I finished reading this. It was such compulsive reading. He came and did an event at our centre that I was volunteering at, and he was talking about compensation. Now, I was about 45, 46, and my mind drifted off, and I thought, well, how could you ever compensate an individual for having been a slave? What could you possibly do to compensate them? And I suddenly realised he wasn't talking about the enslaved people. He was talking about the people who owned those people. And I was 45, 46 years old before I understood that that compensation did not go to the enslaved Africans. And I'm ashamed that I didn't know that, but I'm also embarrassed that our education system didn't tell me that. And now that I know it, that's why I'm part of this, striving to be the best ally that I can. And I understand it's not up to me what that reparation is, but I'm here to support whatever people think it should be.
Education is preparation for reparations.